Hey guys, how you doing? This is Franklin Cruz. So today what I'm going to go over is how to sell a house that needs repairs. So if your house needs a lot of repairs, I'm going to go over a whole bunch of items that you can do right now to sell that property. Actually, I'm going to give you 3 main items that you could do right now to sell your property right now that needs repairs. So rule number 1, first of all, if your house needs a ton of repairs and you are living in the property, make sure that, number 1, there's not mold anywhere. So if there's any kind of water leaks or anything like that, that could actually be a hazard to your health. So you do not want to do that. So I'm going to jump right into telling you what to do. So if you got a pen and paper, make sure that you're taking down notes, if not a crayon, something. So the other thing is too, is whenever you're trying to sell that house that needs a ton of repairs, look, one thing is first, your health is the number 1 concern. Because I've been inside properties that hoarders have lived there, and there've been a lot of crazy things inside houses, and what I can say is that's not good for you. So make sure that you're getting at least that portion of it taken care of. The other thing is this: if it needs a lot of repairs, if it needs a new roof, or if it needs new flooring, or if the kitchen is gone, or the bathroom is leaking, you want to make sure that you don't have any kind of water in the area that's leaking. Water is usually the worst thing that can happen to a property. The main reason why there's about 8 different fixtures inside of a property that water has it can actually start leaking, or something negative can happen to your property due to water. So moisture or leakage or going through the drywall, something like that. So you want to make sure that is the very first thing that you're getting taken care of. Get an experienced plumber out there, make sure it's getting done. The other thing is, if the property needs a lot of repairs and you need to sell, you can do 2 things. 1, you could find a professional home buyer, kind of like myself, or you can actually find a professional realtor as well. Somebody that actually has experience dealing with properties that need work. A lot of them don't. You want to ask them actually what is their credentials, what are the properties that they've actually sold that needed a lot of repairs. Have them give you the actual address to those properties as well. We do that as well. A lot of times we're actually telling people specifically, this is exactly the properties that we've already bought that needed a lot of repairs. This is the best that we can do when it comes down to pricing. What you want to do as well is you want to consider, look, if you're trying to sell the property, what is the actual minimum and maximum that you're willing to take for that property? So, what is the max? And then what's the minimum cash that you're attempting to make? Look, if the property is something like, look, man, I don't have the cash to actually do this. This is going to take a ton of time to do. Then what are you going to do about it? Well, here's a couple things that you've got to do. You've got to be realistic with that property. You've got to start thinking in your head specifically, how much money do you need right now to move you from another property, get you out of this situation, going to another property that you don't have to worry about everything that's happening with this current property. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, what's the bare minimum? Look, what is the bare minimum that I'm going to need to get out of this property? Because you've got to move, you've got to do something with that property, because it's only going to get worse. Remember, if a property has a 20-year roof, the year that you put that roof down, it already starts depreciating the value of that roof. That's why they're called 20-year roofs. You have to change them out every 20 years. So if you've got a 19-year-old roof, that means that your property has at least a 10-year depreciation of that roof, or 19-year depreciation of the roof. So you've got to consider, okay, well, I've got to put a new roof on. Well, anybody behind me's got to put a brand new roof. Well, just FYI, that is money. That is right off the back. Somebody's got to spend money, $10,000 or more or less, to get inside that property. So you've got to consider, oh my goodness, I've actually got to get this taken care of immediately, or sell it as is, and you can give them what they call roofing credentials, or not credentials, I forget, credits, I'm sorry, roofing credits. So you can actually give them credits towards their roof to take care of their roof. There's a lot of other things that you can do as well. But if you're trying to get out of it as quickly as possible, you may want to consider these 2 options. There's a third option. Can you get a loan on your property? If you want to stay at that property, you could always ask about that. You could always say, okay, what am I going to actually do to get a loan on the property? What is that going to look like? How much is that going to cost? You've got to ask around. You don't want to go, it's just like a doctor. You don't want to go to the first doctor and just say, okay, that's the only way to take care of this injury. You want to get some different opinions. You want to gather and say, okay, who's this person? Hey, I've got 3 people laid out. Who's got the most experience? Who's got the track record? Who do I feel that I know, like, and trust that can make this thing happen? And I always ask, and I always tell people, look, you want to go off of the credentials of somebody's background. So if you don't want to just go off of a realtor because they're your friend, right? But they don't have a background in selling properties that need a ton of repairs. So that's why you got to go back to what's these 2 items in your head, minimum and maximum, so you could have mentally say, okay, what is the bare minimum and what is the maximum? So now you know right off the back where you're at. Then have somebody professional. If you have somebody professional come to your home, they're going to bring a packet and tell you, this is what your property is worth if it was in perfect condition. This is what your property is worth right now. Now, Franklin, I could just do the same thing, right? I can go to Zillow. No, don't do that because they're completely wrong. So remember, there's 6 different things that you've got to think about when it comes down to values of property, sometimes 7. The first thing that you've got to think about is, first of all, if you don't know how much the other properties have sold for in your area, that means you really don't know how much your property is going to sell for. The other thing is, you've got to look at properties that have sold within the last 6 months, similar in year built, similar in square footage, similar in style. You can't take a 2-bedroom and convert it over to a 1-bedroom. That doesn't make any sense. You've got to also look for what is the actual area going for, what's the style going for, and what is actually sold within the last 6 months. If it hasn't sold within the last 6 months, that means it doesn't count. You can't even think about it. That's not even something to put in there at all, 0. Why is that? Just because it's not even a comp. So if it hasn't sold within the last 6 months, don't put it down. So hopefully this is helping you out as well. And then the other things as well that you want to consider is this. Is there upgrades or downgrades? When you're looking at the other properties, is it upgraded compared to your property or is it downgraded compared to your property? And then you got to kind of meet in the middle. So this is actually a mathematical equation that I got to figure out. And usually the only person that can figure out is these 2 people over here because they're in the business. This is literally what we do. So it's almost like, do you go to the pizza delivery guy and say, hey dude, can you tell me what's wrong with my car? No, they don't know what the hell they're doing. No. So you're going to go to somebody who's professional that knows what they're doing. Look, if you're getting something out of this right now, don't forget to, here's a 4th thing. The 4th thing is you got to smash that like button. Okay, so smash that like button, leave a comment below. Hopefully you got something out of how to sell a house that needs a ton of repairs. So my name is Franklin Cruz. Talk to you guys later.